Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on community supports. It's fantastic to welcome you all from all around the country. We have loads of different counties, people signed up, and it's great to see names we know very well and also to welcome new names, new people onto this webinar as well. We really hope that you will find this event supportive, informative, empowering, and hopefully enjoyable as well. So we're really delighted to be holding this. Before we start, we want to let you know that the video is being recorded. So if you wish to turn off your camera, please do. Otherwise, you will be part of the recording, which is fantastic. Okay, that's great. So first of all, my name is Maeve Healy. I'm Learning and Development Officer with Muscular Dystrophy Ireland. And I'm here today along with my colleagues, Tanya Quill, Dympna Mulroy and Niall Dennehy. So the four of us are involved in this. So just to say a few words about the actual webinar, it aims to inform people living with neuromuscular conditions about where you can find support, resources and information to enhance your quality of life and live well to the full of your potential. We're also really delighted to be launching a case study document today that offers information and guidance to people on various aspects of day-to-day living, using scenarios drawn from the experience of people living with neuromuscular conditions. And topics include entitlements, insurance, education, driving, housing grants, and family planning. We'll be sharing that on our chat, and you will also be able to find it on our website under the heading knowledge base. So we hope you will find that informative, and we'd also welcome feedback on it if you have any. I'm trying to be as quick as possible because I'm conscious of the amount of time that is there for people to speak. So the webinar is now going to run until around 1 p.m. or so. We unfortunately had one cancellation. Thomas Byrne from Citizens Information has COVID, so he's really sorry that he can't make it today. So we've just moved up the schedule, the agenda, and we've taken out the break so that it'll be a more concise day. Each speaker will speak for around 10 minutes, and there will be some time for questions afterwards. You can put your question into chat. You can put up the hand thing on the hand symbol on Zoom, or indeed, if you want to, we can follow up with questions afterwards as well. All of the above. And if we don't get around to answering all questions, we will be very happy to get back to you afterwards and follow up with information. So a few more housekeeping things before we start. We're very conscious with events we run that we never know the kinds of things that may come up that may upset any of us. So we really encourage all of you to take good care of yourself today and take responsibility for your own care. If you find anything tough, please take a break or do what you need to do. And then on top of that, please be aware that our organisation is there to offer support. So we have a number of, we offer counselling support, we offer online peer groups, and also if you just wanted to make contact with the organisation following this event with a practical or an emotional query, you can do so on our information line, which is 35301 623 6414. And that's our information line is open from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And there is also a query form on our website if you wanted to make contact with the organisation in that way. So please do take care of yourselves. People will be muted while the presentations are being made. But then if you do wish to ask a question yourself verbally, having put up your hand, we will unmute you so you can ask that question. We're also going to ask you to complete a very short feedback form, and we'd really appreciate if you could do that so that we will learn and try and get things as that meet your needs as best as possible for future events. So I think I've covered everything. I'm just going to name check the organizations who are going to be involved today. So we're really delighted. I'll just go through them very quickly, and then I'll let people talk about themselves and their organizations, because otherwise I'll only be repeating. So first up, we have Dympna, our research officer, Dympna Mulroy from Muscular Dystrophy Ireland, who will talk about our services. Then we have welcome Fiona Weldon, who is Capacity Officer with Independent Living Movement Ireland. Following that, we're delighted to have Lorraine Gallagher, who is Information and Training Officer with AHEAD. And then we have Ciara Heffernan from the National Learning Network, which is part of the rehab group, and she's Senior Communications Officer. And then we have Patrick Flanagan, who is Disability Coordinator of the Towards Work project. That's part of the Open Doors initiative. And last but not least, we have Julie, I've lost Julie's name here, I beg your pardon. We have Julie Davis, who is Administrative Officer with the Local Authority section of the Housing Authority. So welcome everybody. We hope it'll find you good. So I'll hand over now to Dympna, who will start with a presentation about the services of Muscular Dystrophy Ireland.
Great, thank you, May, for the introduction. So I'm just going to share my screen with everybody. There we go. Okay, so just as an introduction into Muscular Dystrophy Ireland, I know some of you are familiar with our services and have accessed them in the past, but for any people who are new, and also there's just been some updates as well as to some of the services and supports that we provide now, so it might be a good refresher and a review for people to know what we're doing. So first of all, our vision as an organisation is to have an Ireland that enables people with neuromuscular conditions to participate fully in society and reach their full potential. And we aim to support people living with neuromuscular conditions and their family. And one of the things I think that sometimes our name might be a little bit misleading when people think of muscular dystrophy, they just think of the muscular dystrophies. However, we cover up to 60 different rare muscle wasting and weakening conditions. So how do we do this? We provide information and a variety of support services, and they're national services. We also advocate for services and entitlements for our members, and we educate and inform society about neuromuscular conditions. As we know, many of these conditions are rare, so it's really important that we can increase awareness about the different conditions and how they impact people. And we have a research department, so we support researchers and clinicians to carry out quality research. So first of all, so my presentation is broken down into the different services that we provide. And the first one that I'm going to speak about is the Family Support Programme. So we've got family support workers throughout the country who are able to provide one-to-one contact with our members who are living with the conditions and their families. They're there to offer a listening ear and emotional support. And they can also help with providing information and advocacy. That could be advocacy for support in terms of like with councils or getting housing. And information could be even things like going to speak to schools and supporting people with being able to access and navigate the services that are available to them. They arrange coffee mornings and have other social events as well for people to get together as a community. And we all know that that peer support is really important. And they also have a range of online courses and groups that focus on well-being, education, and peer support. We have a youth service program. So this is for young people between the ages of 6 to 18 and then 18 to 25-year-olds. And the aim of these groups is to support, encourage, and enable young members to grow, develop, and achieve their full potential through building confidence, self-esteem, resilience, and empowerment. And this is very much based on the needs and interests of the young members at the time. So they plan with an end result in mind. For example, young people will feel more confident socializing and forming friendships, or that they will develop a practical skill, such as cookery or art. And they organise, again, a range of activities that includes things such as day trips and outings, youth clubs and workshops, as well as one-to-one goal-focused work when needed. As I said earlier, it's really based on the needs and interests of the young people, and they've got a variety of youth events throughout the year. And these can be found on our website as well and on our social media pages. Now, a relatively new service to MDI is a clinic liaison, and that is Sinead O'Brien. She attends neuromuscular clinics at hospital sites. So in Dublin, she's at Beaumont, Tala, and CRC. And then we also have Tracy, who attends clinics in Cork. And the idea of the clinic liaison service is to be there when you're going into your clinical appointments in the hospital. They're a friendly face, somebody that's there with a listening ear, and again, able to provide some support or if you want to just go through anything after your appointment. And they can also then help link people into MDI services and into other supports that are available. Now, we're currently running a number of peer support groups. We've got ones that are for parents and carers, and this is facilitated on the last Tuesday of every month. We also have a family befriending service, and this is relatively new, where we're connecting and pairing up families with each other, again, as an opportunity to be able to provide peer support and learn from different experiences. Then we've got one that is specifically for adults who are living with a neuromuscular condition. This is an online group that meets fortnightly and it is facilitated. And then again, another program that's going to be starting on the 7th of February is known as the Men's Den. So this is for men who've got lived experience of neuromuscular conditions. It's going to be a pilot program. It will be run online. And again, it'll be once a month piloting for 4 months to start. So if you are interested in any of these types of groups or you'd like to learn more, as Maeve mentioned earlier on, we've got an info line that you can contact us on, or again, have a look on our website or speak to your family support worker. Now, there's a couple of services that we provide, and one of these is a counselling. So this is very much a short or to medium term counselling service that is provided free of charge. Because we do recognise the importance of being able to access counselling for people who are at various points in their journey. And we also understand that cost can often be a barrier. So we're delighted to be able to offer a free service for our members. And again, personal assistance. This is very much in a kind of a need of in an emergency, and it is just for short periods of time, but it is something that we are able to help with. We have transport and equipment services. So in terms of the transport, that is really located in Dublin. So for people maybe who are living outside of Dublin, you could organise to have transport if you were to get the train up to be able to be there for you when you come off the train, to bring you to your clinical appointments. And again, it is just having a friendly face and somebody, maybe it's Darren, who is our transport services manager, and he's worked in the facility for years, so people get to know him as well. And then we've also got some equipment that we can put out short to medium term loan. So they could be things like hoists, ramps, shower stools. And again, could be quite handy if you were maybe coming up to Dublin or you were traveling, or again, maybe if you needed something just on a short term basis. Okay, and then we've got our home from home. So this is a 4-bedroom department that is located in Chapel Lizard above our national office. It is a self-contained, fully wheelchair accessible apartment that people can again stay in for a short-term basis. So again, if you were coming up to Dublin for an appointment or for a weekend or for an event, it is a great facility that is available, and literally we call it home from home because you don't need to bring all of the equipment with you. Everything is there. So we have an information and advocacy service, and that really is the information. We like to keep members up to date on any developments that are happening, whether it's around advocacy issues within the disability service, entitlements, maybe particular to neuromuscular conditions, research and treatment. And we do this really by sending out regular newsletters, and that's posted out to people who are on our mailing list, and they're also then put up on our website. We have online resources. So again, looking on our website, we've got like a frequently asked questions section, and we've also got information videos and different resources there just to help people find out information that might be relevant for them and their question and needs. And then in terms of advocacy, I mentioned earlier on that our support workers do local advocacy, but at a national level, we also advocate on policy and decisions that will affect the neuromuscular community as a whole. So if you'd like to get involved a little bit more with some of the things that MDI are running, there's a variety of ways you can. And we've got an advocacy committee, which again is relatively new, and they're always open to people joining, and they're looking at local and national areas that require advocacy work. People can get involved through fundraising, organising an event in your community. And then there's many MDI events. I know that I mentioned a few there earlier on, but there's different opportunities throughout the year where people can meet with others and build connections, whether it's through the youth and family services or just through kind of maybe condition-specific events that we might have as well. And we're always really welcome to hearing people's stories. We do feel that, we can learn from each other, and people's stories can provide guidance and support to other members. So again, we'd love to hear them. And the befriending program that I mentioned earlier on as well. We've also, as I mentioned at the start, we've got a research section. So again, there's plenty of ways to get involved in research. This triangle kind of outlines the different levels of participation when it comes to research. And at the very bottom, the participation part is probably one that people are most familiar with. And that is where you might participate in a survey or maybe a clinical trial or some type of a focus group as being a subject of research. At the engagement level, that's where, researchers will share information and knowledge about maybe their research after they've done it. So, by reading up on what is happening and the latest news on research, that's another way of getting involved. And then at the very top of this pyramid is where we're really striving to be more aligned with moving forward. And that is where people who are living with the conditions are working in partnership with researchers to plan, design, manage, evaluate, and disseminate results. And it is really much the idea of that is what they call patient and public involvement. And it is doing research with or by members of the public rather than to, about, or for them. And that is one of the things this year that I am hoping is to create a patient and public involvement panel or advisory group so that members of our community who are interested in being part of some of those research activities we can have a panel together and put some kind of resources around that. So that will be something that I will be promoting in the months ahead. And also one of the big projects for MDI in the coming year in terms of research is to create a registry for people with neuromuscular conditions in Ireland. And the aim of the registry will be to collect information about people who consent that have got a particular neuromuscular condition and what it is. It can contain personal health information that is maintained over a long period of time. And the idea of this is to help with planning and recruitment to clinical trials and also helping us to understand more the neuromuscular disease population in Ireland, what the prevalence rates are, and maybe where are some gaps in services and what could we do better. We currently have some research partnerships that are about to start or that are ongoing. So again, if any of you, with neuromuscular conditions are interested in participating in some research studies, there will be a couple of calls going out later this year. And again, some of them will be tailored for particular condition specific, or they'll be tailored for age groups. But yeah, again, just keep an eye, as I would say, on our social media pages, on our website. And if you're signed up with us also, we send out a research newsletter 3 times a year as well. So you get some updates on that. I know that in the chat there, they've put in the info line. So if there is any questions that you have about any of the services or supports that I mentioned today, probably the best thing to do is to contact the info line or go onto our website, as Maeve mentioned at the start, and you can put an inquiry through there. But yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much, and I'll hand it back to Maeve.
Dympna, thank you very much for that. We go straight to the next person. So we'd like to welcome Fiona Weldon, who is Capacity Officer with the Independent Living Movement Ireland. So over to you, Fiona. Thank you.
Hi, Maeve. Good morning. How are you? My name is Fiona, and I'm a disabled woman. I'm also a mom, a wife, a sister, a shoppingaholic, and a friend. And I love handbags. So I do. I know the men in the room mightn't be interested in that, but sure, anyway. And I'm a personal assistant user for the last 20 odd years. And I run and control my own PA service. Just a little bit about IMI. And we're a cross-national disabled persons organization. And this means that we are led by and controlled by disabled people. And we're very unlike disability service providers in that we are led by and we are for disabled people. So the lived experience and the voices of disabled people are really, really important to us. DPOs are getting really engaged in our work, and local DPOs, and one of our projects is supporting local DPOs and the sort of development of them. And this is about bringing local disabled people together in their communities. And it's around building a more inclusive, equal society. DPOs are social inclusion and collective spaces for disabled people that are informed through equality, human rights, and the social model of disability lens. So that's just a little bit about us. I do have slides that I've sent Tanya. I've updated them, Tanya, so I'll resend them after this. Is that okay? So we are very much social model thinkers. So this is about believing that our impairments or conditions are not the problem. It's the non-disabled structures and systems that disable us. Non-disabled structures and systems that disable us include traditional disability support services. And many speak, not all of them, but many speak for us and not with us. I know that these are some of these are multi-billion industries. It's our experience and it's my lived experience that there's no quality of life outcomes, and I'm very happy, Dympna, you talked about research, that you were going, yeah, and that's really, really important. That is informed by disabled people. And there's no accountability. Our structures are very broken. And our government, after government, keep funding what is not working. And societal norms of what's normal is very narrow. There is an over medicalization of disabled people. There's a belief that we need to be cared for, cured in some way, and need some sort of non-disabled intervention before we can be allowed into the ordinary rhythms of daily living. Disabled people are, a lot of disabled people experience segregation. There's a belief that we're still adult children, that we're non-productive, that we're a burden. And we are very much exploited in the charity and media spheres. So I want to talk to you a little bit about independent living and the philosophy of independent living. And it's really important to us. And independent living is living in a world. The belief is that the world needs to change in order to accommodate disabled people and not the other way around. So it's embedded in social model thinking. Independent living is a philosophy. It's a belief, and it's a particular way of living your life. And it was born as a reaction against the tradition of institutional and family-based care. This philosophy must inform both non-disabled professionals and their systems that we need in relation to supporting us to live just like everybody else. The UNCOPD, I'm sure you've heard lots and lots of discussion about it. Ireland has signed up to the UNCOPD, so they must support and protect the human rights of disabled people. The cornerstone of the convention aims to transform the lives of disabled people to the right to live independently, but as defined by the Disabled People's Movement, in order for them to have choice, freedom, and control over their lives. So there's four main assumptions of independent living. So every life is valuable. All disabled people have the ability to choose. All disabled people have a right to practice control over their own life. And all disabled people have a right to fully participate. As social model thinkers, we are very clear that independent living means that we have the greatest degree of control over where we live, whom we live with, how we spend our day, where we work, and how we manage our support. And this is really important. So independent living is not about living on your own or doing things by yourself, for yourself. It is about being in control over how things are done. And that's a famous quote by Judy Heumann. I don't know if you have ever heard of her. And so independent living is about freedom. It's about having choice. It's about having control. It's about autonomy, realizing your goals and dreams. And it's about having access to the 7 basic needs of independent living. So central to the independent living philosophy is that the world needs to change, as I said. And it's embedded in the social model of disability. So we are disabled by society, by the barriers that they put in place, as opposed to our conditions or impairments. So independent living can look different for everyone. It can be in the form of personal assistance. It can be having the right technology or the right adaptive devices that support us to get around. It's about having access to accessible transportation, whatever that looks like, accessible housing, and there's an awful lot of talk about universal design and universal design housing. It's about having access to our environment and information that meets our needs, and then having access to peer support and peer mentoring, which clearly you guys have already, which is brilliant and because it's really important. And so what is a PA? There's an awful lot of talk about the definition of a personal assistant. And so for me, a personal assistant is an individual contracted by a disabled person to provide them with the support they need in different aspects of their daily living. And this can include personal support, domestic tasks, assistance at school, university, in the workplace, all when out and about. MPA can be often described as someone's arms or legs, and they carry out the tasks that a disabled person can't do or finds it difficult to do. A carer or a home health is not a PA and will never offer choice and control the way we want it. These usually work through a care plan and the house drawn up by the service provider with the HSE. And usually the service provider is in charge. A PA is always working under the direction of a disabled person. It is a contractual agreement between a PA and the disabled person. Having PA supports our independence. It is an interpersonal relationship. PAs support us to live our lives and they get paid. And it is a win-win. It is a win-win. So the concept of independence for me and for other disabled people is a myth. So none of us are independent, but we live in a society that puts value on the idea that needing support is a sign of weakness. So there is an overemphasis on doing things by yourself for yourself. And there are programs that are called named semi-independent living services. And there's kind of no such thing as being semi-independent. So there's that. All of us are dependent on others, regardless of our impairment. And as babies, as children, as sisters, brothers, wives, husbands, employees, friends, older people. And our local community even needs local people to get together and work together. And the disabled people that I know want support in the form of a PA if they need it. They want choice, they want freedom, they want control. Disabled people do not want caring, they don't want carers, they don't want home help just to get up and get out of bed and go to bed and feed us. They don't want respite, and they don't want to be dependent on their family. And this only exerts power over the disabled person. So note that independent living is being abused and used by traditional disability support services that perpetuate the myth of being independent. I don't know if you have heard of the concept of ableism. So ableism is a word for unfairly favoring non-disabled people over disabled people. Ableism means prioritizing the needs of disabled people. In an ableist society, it is assumed that the normal way of living is as a non-disabled person. It is ableist to believe that non-disabled people are more valuable to society than disabled people. Ableism is a form of discrimination. So often, and a lot of disabled people can internalize the belief that they should be non-disabled, okay? And this has a really, really strong impact on their life. So after being on the receiving end of ableism, you might feel low self-esteem or a sense of shame about being disabled. Internalized ableism happens when a disabled person discriminates against themselves and other people by holding the view that disability is something to be ashamed of, is something to hide, and its disability or being disabled is a bad thing. And lastly, I'll say something around being change makers. So change comes from collective activism, collective voices, disabled people and allies coming together to change the systems and structures that exclude us. We must become teachers. We are the experts. We know what we want. Know that the people in charge will never relinquish power, even if they know that they're doing a bad job. Some disability services are in the business of keeping disabled people outside of the normal rhythms of daily life. So we have specialized day services, resource center services, residential services, respite services. Know that only 30% of disabled people are employed in Ireland. We are the second lowest country in Europe for employing disabled people. And it's not anything got to do with their condition or impairment. Know that there's an additional cost of having a disability, and this can be up to 11 to 16,000 euro per year. There is a large number of disabled people living in nursing homes. I want people, and we want people, to start demanding personal assistance over home help or agency support. These do not offer real choice or control or autonomy. It's the only way. Nothing is going to change unless we stand and say what we want and how we want it. We have, in RMI, we have created an independent living and assessment of need. And this is about, it's a document very much about putting together what you want and telling the HSE and the service provider what you need, as opposed to then telling you what you need. So we're shifting the power relations. We're in charge. We're taking control. Talk to other disabled people. Get involved in IMI and our campaigns, and become the change makers. In IMI, at the moment, we have started employment consultations, and these are going to be, the feedback is going to be written up to feed into our national disability strategy. And we local DPOs, as I say, get involved in them. Down County Meath, Leitrim, Cork, Sligo, Dublin. Get involved in our PAS campaign, our personal assistant campaign, and the right to have a PA. And then we have a housing collective when we talk about the right to housing, and much more as well. And that's me. So as I said, Tanya, I'll send this round to you again, and maybe with some resources as well. And thank you very much for listening.
Fiona, thank you so much for a loud, clear and strong message from ILMI. It's really, thank you for your excellent, just the way you explained everything was really very clear and very strong. Thank you. We have a question just on a practical level. If somebody, how would somebody go about getting a PA service? Could you touch on that? I know we are actually running into the time of the next person, but maybe if there was just even the main ways in which one can, avail of supports in order to get a PA service.
PA service, and I have supported a lot of people around the country to get a PA service, and unfortunately it's very ad hoc. It depends where you live, and know what you need, and I can forward you, and we can talk through the independent assessment of need. But get to know your HSE manager, your local disability manager. And the other thing is, local public health nurses have an awful lot to say as well in relation to, promoting, the support that you need to live your best life. And really know what a PA is and the difference between a PA, a carer, and home health, and promote the right to have a personal assistant over having, using home health. And home health people are, these people are generally really nice people. It's not the person working with you, it's the systems that have broken.
Yeah.
So we need to start demanding. So if we accept home health, that it's okay, we'll have support a half an hour to get up and a half an hour to go to bed. And that's our day. they're not going to change it. So like, we really need to start demanding personal assistant as a right. But like, and like always made, our doors are open, you know, and hopefully this is only a start of like a really good relationship between MDI and NMI. So our doors are always open.
Thank you very much, Fiona. I'm conscious of time. I wondered if there's, Ina, do you have a question? Would you like to ask a question?
Yes, please. It's just, first of all, thank you so much for that. I'm just a personal thing, really. Do you continue supporting people after the age of 65 in your organisation?
Yes, absolutely. Your impairment or your condition doesn't disappear.
Yeah,
After you're
that.
65. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And how do you get a referral into your organisation?
Well, no, we're not a service provider. We're more of a collective activism, providing that space. But like, you can get involved in any of our in our spaces, and again, like, I'll connect with you guys and send you that to resource.
Okay, I'll just give you a small little snapshot. I have a husband with muscular dystrophy. Listen, my name. We've been involved with muscular dystrophy since Moses was a boy, and he needs to go swimming, and it has been funded, which I don't think it should have been, by MDI, and it's going to stop. And because now he is over 65, he can't get funded by any other organisation, and it's going to come to an end. I can't understand why MDI won't continue to fund it for him. He used to have it for 2 days a week. They have cut it back to 1 day a week, and he needs his swimming, and it's going to stop. So I'm just wondering, where do we go from here? MDI have told him straight out they're not going to fund it anymore, and it's going to finish up. He needs his swimming. So I'm just wondering, where do we go from here for him, for his bit of swimming, which he needs it for physio in the pool twice a week?
I would definitely, go back to the physio, like, get confirmation that your husband really needs
Yes, he does.
sort of exercise, and then talk to NDI. But like, NDI,
we have spoken. MDI said no.
Like,
They're here listening to me. They can hear me talking about it now. MDI are here in the room. They know. They know about it. MDI have spoken. They've said no, it stops.
Okay, and there is a tradition in Ireland that, like, after 65, we go into the older person's services, and that's a completely different service from like a personal assistant service. But like, if you want to connect with me and afterwards, and like, Tanya has my email address, and we could have a chat.
Yeah, thank you. Okay? Thank you. You're inspiring. You're just...
That's okay. I like inspiring disabled people, and not, I'm not in the sort of job in inspiring non-disabled people just because I have an impairment, but I love my job and how I do it. But definitely, and they get in contact with me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's okay, thank you, Ina and Fiona. If it's okay, we will move on to the next speaker because we're running a little bit over time. And if you have any further questions, if you wanted to feed them into the chat, and we'll make sure to get back afterwards. So we'd like to now welcome Lorraine Gallagher, who is Information and Training Officer with AHEAD. And I will leave Lorraine explain what AHEAD is rather than do it twice. Welcome, Lorraine, and thank you very much.
Listen, thank you very much. And I know exactly what you mean by running out of time. So I've actually set a timer for 10 minutes, right? So hopefully it'll be grand. And I'm going to share my screen now. And if you could just let me know that that you can see the screen. Just let me second. Screen 2. share, and I'm just going to put it on
Yes, we can see that.
onto the proper view and turn
Lovely.
subtitles because you don't need them. And then someone's waiting to get in. Will I just click on admit? So
Yeah,
basically,
sorry, Lorraine, if anyone comes up, if you could just admit, that would be great.
okay, that's fine. We do all these things all the time in Ahead, all these kind of like online stuff. And I just want to echo, I suppose, Fiona, I could have listened to you all day, right? And like yourself, disabled person with a married children, a whole lot, in a job that I love as well. But it's so interesting, and really all the things that go on in the background in terms of what people with disabilities have to put up with on a daily basis. And it's funny. A guy, myself, and another colleague in work who also has a disability. We were talking about like the idea of just have to kind of like, you could go out every day and get annoyed every day, and you just have to kind of go, oh, I just can't be bothered. And you're just trying to get on with life. It's funny, really, isn't it? But in terms of what we're doing ahead, I suppose my talk is just really about, I suppose, resources that we have, and how we might be of use to yourselves and members. And actually, Dympna, thanks very much for your presentation as well, because you opened my eyes. I didn't realize that you supported a vast I suppose different ranges of muscular types of disabilities. So that's really good to know, because I'll be sending loads of people down to you. You'd be sorry now you told me that. So basically, I am the information training officer. So I'm the person who, I suppose, so it could be you ringing me up about something, in terms of, your child maybe has muscular dystrophy or a disability of some kind, and they're thinking about going to college. You might ring me and ask me, how do they apply, blah, blah, blah. You might email me. We have like events. So we have an annual college fair, which is called Better Options. We have that every November. It's free to attend. It's online. And then when you're actually in college, right, you might be having issues in college. You might contact me and say, this is going on, what do I do? So rather than, we are not really an advocacy organization in the true sense of the word. What I would do with somebody is help them to self-advocate in terms of what their needs are in college, or indeed in work, right? So they've contacted me about that, or I could be working with an academic around how to make sure that somebody with a disability is included in the learning environment, or I could be working with the disability service. So at the moment, we run a course every year called a Head Start, and I'm the tutor. I'm actually quite nice, I'm not that strict. And so I'm the tutor, and it's basically, it goes into all the information about disabilities, the legal obligations, and how to do needs assessments, because needs assessments are very important in terms of finding out what somebody maybe needs in terms of college. So I actually tutor on that. But of course, if you've gone to college, right, of course, the whole point of it is then to get a job, right? So I suppose our main remit is the inclusion of people with disabilities within education. I mean, when I mean education, I mean tertiary education. So after they leave school, right? And then of course you've got your degree or whatever, and obviously then you want a job. So I actually joined Ahead just when we started what's called the WAN program, and I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. But basically, what we found was people were contacting us. They had, really good results in their degrees and whatever, but they couldn't get work because they were like, "How do I talk about my disability? Blah blah blah." Employers won't give me a job. We tell them, like, even though, like, okay, I've disclosed as well, like Fiona before me, but actually, when it comes to disabilities, the range is huge. We don't deal with any one more over another. Anyone can contact us and talk about whatever they need. But in reality, most disabilities are actually non-visible, right? So, and actually, even when you talk about like people with muscular dystrophy and those kinds of conditions, have that condition starting out, and you're just walking around, and over time it changes. So your experience of it changes, and how you look and how you interact with the environment changes. So that's the thing about disability, right? In some sense. But anyway, so we came up with the idea of running what's called the WAM program. And we work with employers to place people in internships that range from 6 months to 2 years plus, depending on what the needs of the employer are. But again, I'll give you more information on that in a minute. So I'm very lucky that I actually get to work across the 3 different sections that we work across in a head. But actually, a head is a tiny team. You're probably a tiny team in MDI as well. But people seem to think that we're huge, but actually we're tiny. And we also have a research and policy section. So we do a lot of research and policy around inclusion. So just in terms of the legal bit, and most people on this call are probably very aware of that. So you have the Equal Status Act, so that's access to goods and services. So in a sense, an education college, university is actually a provider of education. So they're a supplier of goods in a way, right? So that entitles people to what we call a reasonable accommodation. So a reasonable accommodation is the legal term for disability support, right? The Disabilities Act is all about making public services, so the public services you might go into the hospital or whatever, and that they have information that's accessible for you as a person with a disability, and that public bodies, public service, should be proactive in employing people with disabilities. And then there's the Employment Equality Act, which means it's illegal to discriminate against you if you have a disability in work, right? So if you think about and what Fiona was talking about earlier on in terms of, the very, very high rates of unemployment for people with disabilities in Ireland, I think we're nearly the worst in Europe, which is a terrible thing to be saying. But anyway, so just before I go into that, just to say about there are loads of options in terms of if you happen to be a parent on this call and you're a young person who's about to go to college. You can contact me and I can go through all of this information on the slide from the DARE scheme, which some students can get in on reduced points because it recognises that maybe a young person spent a lot of time in hospital, or they missed school for whatever reason, that they could apply for the DARE scheme. There's also further education is a great route after you leave school. There are adult education courses, there's mature entry. And one thing that a lot of people forget about is actually apprenticeships are brilliant, because you can actually spend half your time in college and half your time actually on the job learning the skills. So, there are loads of opportunities out there. And of course, then, depending on how your condition might change over time and that you might need retraining in something, that you can go and do a springboard course. And then just to talk about disclosure in general. So if you're in college and you're talking about your disability, you tick the CAO form, you inform the college, and colleges are really open about providing support to people with disabilities who want to go there. There's loads of support. Where it becomes problematic is when you're in work, or if you're looking for work. How do I tell an employer about my disability? Stuff like that. It's very problematic, right? So we have a guide which is available on our website. It's free to download, and it's all about how to tell employers about your disability, right? So why are you telling them? What are you going to say, right? And when are you going to say it? All of those, it'll guide you through all that, right? And then the other resource that you might find useful in terms of work is another publication which we have, which is called Maximising Your Job Application. It's a practical workbook, right? And in that workbook, there are fillable boxes for you to work through answers that you want to put in. And I was only talking about this with somebody yesterday. Different jobs require different answers, even different CVs, depending on what you're applying for. We've probably all at some stage been there. And you could maybe save it a few times and save different things in different ones. So just some really nice resources that you can get from us as well. Also, there was a little bit of talk around assistive technology, and we have a resource called the AT Hive, which basically you can go and look at assistive technology that might assist you. So you might think, well, I've problems with reading, right? So you can click on an icon that is all about reading apps, right? Or maybe you have difficulties with organization and it's all about, or maybe it's to do with manipulation of objects, your hand function. So we have different categories that you can click on and find out about the AT. And there's also, oh my God, I can't believe that's up already. And then you can, you can check all that out. And you can also look at videos on how to use stuff, like little demos as well. And as I always say to people as well, YouTube is your friend when it comes to technology as well, but we have videos in there as well. And then just about employment options for you, right? If you're thinking about employment, we have two things. We have the WAN program, which are paid mentored internships and they're full-time, right? Now, I know that's problematic for some people, but we are paid by the Department of Social Protection to provide full-time placements. Here down the bottom, you'll see some of our employers. We have publicjobs.ie, the ESB, Irish Life, Dell Technologies, Bank of America, PepsiCo, Enterprise, Diageo, VMware, UTD, and there's actually more. There's always more coming on stream. And we will have opportunities coming up in the next 2 weeks. If you are interested in getting involved, you have to sign up to the OneWorks database, which is an online resource that you sign up to. And when you're signed up to that, you'll also find out information about Get Ahead. Get Ahead is like a work transition project, right? It's the transition from education into the workplace, or maybe you've been out of the workplace for a while due to your health or due to whatever reason. This is all about getting you kind of, I suppose, work ready. And we have things like workshops, Think Twice workshops, and we have one coming up at the end of the month, so 31st of January from 2 to 3, and it's online, it's free, and it's all about transferable life skills that you could bring to the workplace. So it's all about exploring that, and as I said, that's free. Another event that's coming up as we move through the year is Building the Future, which is a careers event, which is in Citibank on City Quay, and it is I think it's an all day. It's all day, but I think again it's free or it's a very small amount to attend. It could be a fiver. And it's at the end of May. I haven't got the exact date yet, but the information will be available on the website. There'll be talks, there'll be employer stands there. You can talk about employment opportunities. We'll have things like mock interviews, a CV clinic, employer drop-in sessions. So there's loads of stuff going on. And again, if you want to get involved in any of that, you really need to register on the OneWorks database, right? So even if you currently weren't interested in full-time work, you might still be interested in doing the workshops, right? And then for people who maybe, full-time work isn't an option for them at the moment, don't forget about employability. They have a wider range of opportunities in terms of employment than we would. So our employment is really aimed at graduates. So you're talking about a minimum of a level 6 on the national framework, my qualifications framework. So you're talking about level 6, and it would depend on the jobs that are on offer, right? So just to say that as well. And then I suppose that's it. I wanted to try and keep on track for you. So if anyone's got any questions, you can ask me now, or my contact details are there, and you can just give me a shout. And I'm going to share this later on with Tanya, so she can share. People can share it around or whatever. So I hope that's okay. I know I went through that really fast, but I know what it's like, Maeve, trying to keep on track. So I hope that's okay, everybody. Sorry, it was really fast.
Lorraine, thank you so much for a wealth of information about resources and supports for people in relation to third level education and indeed work experience and employment. A quick question. Are there any getting ready for college workshops, in the same ways you said about getting ready for work? And do you have anything in that regard?
Well, sometimes organizations would contact me and I would do a session for students and parents, right? And then we would have that event called Better Options, which runs in November every year.
Mm.
That's on a Saturday and it's online and people can sign up for that and that is free. And we do have sessions around getting ready for college, assistive technology, talking to the guidance counselor, and that would all be part of that. But if the people wanted to have, let's say if yourselves wanted to have a session with young people, I would certainly be happy to come along and do it.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much, Lorraine. And one other quick question
Yeah.
that has come up, which is, have you any nuggets of advice for people who are experiencing physical access barriers in colleges and universities, and it continues to be a very, very serious issue?
Well, I think it's definitely something that you can contact us about.
Yeah.
We gather, like I would be the information officer, so if you're ringing up, you're going to be talking to me, right? And we actually do work with the colleges around access, you know, and you know, a lot of colleges have improved, but it's one of those things around access as well, is that a lot of it is kind of those kind of listed building issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is about working with colleges and going to the college, like, yeah, really, if you have particular access needs, I would always advise people to go and visit the college before they go and register as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they have rights to go to college and they need to be accessible. It's not enough to be saying, oh, well, we can't let you in because, but they should be letting people in, you know? And there are, you know, there is money to get ramps and to get stuff done, you know? Colleges are, you know, they're not poor.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. I'm conscious of time because we are running a little over. We had a few little technical glitches at the beginning that has contributed to that. So thank you everyone for your patience. Thanks so much for your input, Lorraine. And, you know, again, it's great to know that you are there if we want to follow up, or indeed if participants want to follow up on other queries. That's great. So now the next person coming up is Ciara Heffernan, who is Senior Communications Officer with the National Learning Network, which is part of the rehab group. And Ciara, our apologies that we are running a little bit late, and to those who also left waiting in the wings for their turn to speak. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we're over to Ciara. Welcome, Ciara, and thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'll see if I can share my screen now, and I'll fly through mine as well. So let me see. Share. I don't know if you can see that. Can you? Hopefully you can. That's my presentation there. So anyway, yeah, so as you said, I am Ciara Heffernan, so I'm the communications officer with the rehab group, and I'm going to be talking to you today about National Learning Network, or it's abbreviated to NLN, which is a little bit hard to say. I've been working here for about 7 years. And my job is to work with people in our services, either in rehab group or rehab care or National Learning Network, to tell their stories. And I look after the social media and our website and our press relations and things like that. So just a little bit about National Learning Network. I'm just going to see if I can move my presentation down. There it is. So we're part of Rehab Group. Rehab Group has been around for 75 years. National Learning Network has been around for decades as well. We're based all across the country. We've got 50 different centres around the country, and we offer supported training. So when Lorraine was speaking, Lorraine from ahead, you know, one of the signposts would be to National Learning Network. It would be one of the further education colleges. And we specifically work with people who need a little bit of support while they're doing their education. There'll be a whole range of people who would come to National Learning Network for a whole range of different reasons. So people with autism, people with a mental health issue like social anxiety, people with a physical, sensory or learning disability or any kind of learning difficulty, people who are recovering from maybe a setback in their lives like an illness or an accident. So lots of different people from the age of 16 all the way up to, you know, we always said up to 66, but that's changed now, so we can accept people over the age of 66 as well. And these are full-time courses. They're free, they're state funded. There is some eligibility criteria, but that really is a signature from a GP to say that the person coming to us does need some sort of support in their learning. So everything is person-centered. You know, when you're coming through the doors of NLN, you meet with our support staff. You may not be sure what type of course you want to do with us, whether you want to do barista training or retail skills or digital and IT skills, or you just want a general course that helps with your confidence and your independence, we have those too. And we provide a whole host of different modules, from self-advocacy to independent travel, to podcasting, graphic design, horticulture, sportsmanship. There's a lot of different things that we do, and they're full-time, but they're not always in the classroom. People can come in for a few days a week, and they can do some of their learning at home. So a little bit more about who comes to NLN. I know I went through that already. A lot of people, when they finish the Leaving Cert, or maybe they haven't done the Leaving Cert, maybe they haven't even done the Junior Cert, they leave school, they're not sure what they want to do. I'm sure most of us have been through that. I know I did myself. So a lot of people may decide to do a mainstream college course, and whatever reason, it's maybe overwhelming or they're not getting the right support. People come to NLN and maybe do a course with us for a year, and then we help them to transition then into a mainstream college, or maybe just onto a job. So that's how people from the age of 16 have come to us. But we also have many examples of people who have gone through the full education system. We had a student in NLN who came to us. He had already had a PhD. He'd been working for over 20 years, and he had a setback due to an injury, and he began a course with us to retrain. So lots of different people come to us. I want to talk a little bit about what makes NLN different. So, one of the main things is that people can start a course with us anytime they want. You don't have to wait till January or September. It's really whenever suits the student. We have a lot of different supports in class: psychologist support, advocacy support, literacy and numeracy support. People can sample a course with us, and after a couple of weeks decide, I don't think this course is for me, but maybe another one in the next classroom might be better. They can do that too. And the main thing that students always talk about whenever I'm talking to students is there's no pressure, there's no onus on anyone to keep up with the class. You're doing your course at your own pace. And if that means that for whatever reason, due to personal circumstances, you may need to take a break from your course, a couple of weeks off, maybe it's... I'm just going to interrupt myself because I don't know if you can hear my dog snoring here beside me. If you're hearing a really strange noise, that's what that is. So I can only apologize. There's not something wrong with my audio. So as I was saying, students can complete their courses anytime that they want. They can at their own pace. There's no pressure or onus to keep up. So if it takes you 2 years to complete a course, but somebody else that took them 1 year, that's fine too. It's everybody does a course together with their classmates, but you're completing your modules at your own pace. A little bit about the courses themselves. They're all certified on the qualifications framework, levels 2 to 6. We've about 70 different training programs. So some of the list of them is there. I want to just pinpoint 2 different programs in particular. So we have our general employability skills program. So that would be, you may not necessarily know that you want to do digital skills or IT skills, but on one of our employability skills programs, you would come in and you would learn how to write a CV. You would do interview prep, and you might learn about health and safety. You might learn about, managing stress, and lots of things like that. So there's a whole host of different modules. Even if you're not exactly sure what type of job you want, it's a general employability skills program. So that's available in all of our NLN centres across the country. We have a new course called Skills for Life, and that is, you'd be doing artwork, you might be doing graphic design, you might be doing performance art, maybe presentation skills, and that's becoming really popular as well. So the point I just want to make there is that you don't have to choose a course such as catering or tourism or horsemanship. You can pick a course that has more general modules. My next slide here. So it's just, what we always say is that it's the person-centered approach. Every person that comes into NLN, they would meet with our different support staff, and they are given a person-centered plan. So for some people, depending on what course they do or their stage in life, they come into NLN and they say they want to learn some new skills. They also want to learn how to travel independently, how to do money management, how to figure out what they want to do in their future in terms of maybe living independently or gaining more independence, whereas other people know that they want to make friends or that they want to become an advocacy officer for people with disabilities in the future. We make sure that it's a tailored approach for everybody because, for us, the academic part of the NLN course is obviously very important, but it's more of a holistic approach that we take to learning. It's making sure that people have whatever supports that they need to figure out their own strengths and their own abilities and to get them where they want to be in life. A little bit about culture of inclusive education. You know, I'm not an educator myself, so I'm not going to delve too deeply into this, because if you want to know more about our technology and how we're embracing technology in our courses, just let me know, but I'll get somebody more with more expertise to give you information about that. So we're bringing universal design for learning practices into all of our courses. So some of our students may be visual learners, so we're embracing that. You know, they don't have to. We're using multimedia to make sure that people learn in the way that suits them. We also have sensory cubbies in most of our NLN centres, and they will be in all of them at some stage. So if you're in the middle of class and you're finding it overwhelming, or something's going on with you that day from a mental health perspective, you can get up, walk out of the class, go into the sensory cubby, go for a walk around the centre, get a cup of tea. You know, it's a very flexible environment. We want to make sure that everybody feels welcome, and that whatever stage they're at in their day or in their life, they have that support there and that flexibility. We're also bringing driving simulators into a lot of our NLN centres. I think they're in about 20 of our centres now. They're very popular. A lot of people don't feel maybe quite confident enough to get into an actual car with the driving instructor. So the driving simulators are a lot of fun. And that has been really popular, especially for some of our deaf students as well. They find that really helpful to be able to learn those skills without having to be in a car that's with someone who doesn't know Irish Sign Language, or they're not able to communicate with them. So that's been very popular. It's a slightly old map. We're in a little bit more locations now. So we're in 50 locations across the country. We may be in more in the future. We don't offer at the moment any fully online courses. You would have to come into the centre a couple of days a week, and then it is blended learning. You might be doing work experience, you might be doing some work at home. But in the future, we may be doing fully online courses. But we find that for people who may not feel comfortable about getting to a physical place in the morning and being in that environment, we've tried to make it as accessible as possible. And a lot of people have come through our doors and find that coming into the same place every day and having that welcoming environment with the staff and the other instructors and their fellow students of all different ages, that is really beneficial to a lot of people. This is basically the end of my presentation. I've got a few different testimonials up on screen. I just want to maybe give a couple of examples of students that I've worked with in terms of like interviewing them for our testimonials. We had a student called Lizzie who dropped out of school at the age of 14. She had a diagnosis of autism, and she had selective mutism and depression. She did the junior cert from a hospital bed due to her mental health issues. So she didn't really know what to do with her life, and her mum was trying to get her into some sort of course. So just to kind of make her mum happy, she started a course in National Learning Network in Sligo. And that, I mean, I know this sounds over the top, but it really did change her life. She's a great ambassador for NLN. She was interviewed by the Irish Times last year speaking about the power of supported and flexible education. She started a new course. What she really liked about being in NLN is the fact that every Thursday they, as a group, they went around the town. They got a cup of coffee in the local coffee shop. They went to the cinema together, and that's how she realized that there was a lot of people like her in the same boat who school did not work for whatever reason. They didn't necessarily all have autism. They didn't necessarily all have depression. They didn't necessarily all have selective mutism, but they all had something in common in terms of there was a struggle there in their education because it didn't feel flexible enough. So Lizzie has now finished in NLN Sligo, and she's in Liverpool completing her degree in psychology. And we have her on the radio all the time talking about us on local radio in Sligo. So she's a great advocate for us. And then one other person I just wanted to talk about is a guy called Joseph, who was a student in NLN in Limerick. I know that's not his testimonial on screen. I just have another one there. But so Joseph was, he had the speech impediment all his life. And because of that, he decided he wanted to do something that involved his hands. He didn't have to speak to many people. So he chose a career in horticulture. So Joseph was working in horticulture for the Limerick County Council for a very long time, until he developed sciatica a few years ago and was just floored by that. It was a very serious condition for him. So he gave up his job. He didn't know what to do, and he was basically finding it very difficult to leave the house every day. He was able to manage his pain medication, but he'd lost all confidence. So he came to our Limerick NLN Centre, and he started a business management course with us, and now he's running his own business in Limerick. So he's another advocate that I interviewed a couple of years ago, speaking about the power of supported education. And we have a lovely video by Joseph as well. I'm not going to show it because I find sometimes showing video through Zoom can be really difficult, but if anybody would like me to send them the link to that short video of Joseph's story at any point, that's fine too. So I think that's everything. There's some of our stats. So yeah, anybody would be more than welcome to contact us at any time. You can contact me directly, or you can just Google NLN and you'll see the range of courses that we have available across the country. They are state funded, they're free, you can begin anytime you want, and it might be that maybe right now it wouldn't suit for whatever reason. Maybe people already have a part-time job, but they're already in college. But people's circumstances change all the time. So, it could be that NLN is something that you might want to do into the future, or of somebody who would benefit from it. So we're always trying to get the word out there. We don't have a marketing team. It's myself and my manager. So we're any way that we can get the word out there about NLN is we're delighted to do. So I think that's all I have to say. But yeah, get in touch with me if there's anything else that you need. I'll be more than happy to help. Thanks, Maeve.
Ciara, thank you so much. It was a fantastic use of your time, the way you picked around there and got so much in. It's fantastic. It's also very interesting, I think, to note the variety of people with different needs for whom that the mainstream education system hasn't met the needs. So it's interesting to hear the variety of situations you cater for. I think some people think that it is solely to do with intellectual disability or learning disability, and it's clear that it's broader than that. Does anybody have a question they would like to ask Ciara, if they wished? Okay, well, Dympna has her hand up. Dympna, have you a question?
Yeah. I guess, Ciara, just because I noticed you've got 50 locations around the country. So if people, I presume we would direct them to their local office for where they're located. Is that right?
Yeah, we have so our website, you can go to, it's the Rehab Group website, but if you go to www.nln.ie, you'll land on our NLN pages. So we have a separate web page for each of our locations across the country. But if it can be hard to figure out the website a little bit, it is a little bit confusing because there's so much on offer. So if you I'll put my email address into the chat as well, my direct one. But if you email info@nln.ie, my manager Adele looks after that mailbox, and if you just ask, where's the nearest NLN to me, then she'll make sure that you're connected to the right staff.
That's brilliant. Thanks a million. Yeah, it's great to know you're located in so many locations, and sounds like a great service that you provide. So thank you.
It is. We have 30 different main centres and then another 20 different hubs with some of the courses going on there. So it's about 50 locations. In Dublin alone, I think we have 9 locations, some of them in Dublin city centre. And we're trying to be in as many locations as possible. So yeah, there's a lot of us out there.
Fantastic, Ciara. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. We're going to move on now to hear from Patrick Flanagan. And Patrick is Disability Coordinator of the Towards Work project at the Open Doors Initiative. Patrick is also a board member of MDI, and a former colleague. So welcome, Patrick, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. Over to you.
Hi, thanks very much. Hi, everybody. Great to be here, and thanks so much for asking me to join today and to share with you, I suppose, about information about Towards Work program and the work that we do. So just give me one moment. I'm going to bring up my, hopefully not too long, relatively short presentation. and we'll get started. So can I ask, can everybody see that screen?
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. So towards work. So towards work is a program that I lead on. It's part of the Open Doors initiative. So Open Doors is a network of over 120 companies and NGOs who've pledged to be inclusive employers and to support all marginalized backgrounds, including people who may be refugees, asylum seekers, migrants, people with disabilities, those from traveller background, LGBTIQ+, people with a criminal past, or any intersectionality between all these groups. And our overall aim is to bridge the gaps between employers and these job seekers. So, as mentioned, I'm running the Towards Work program under Open Doors, and Towards Work specifically supports individuals with disabilities as they seek employment, further education, training, or may want to set up their own business and to be self-employed. So this is a little organization map, I suppose, of the Open Doors and what we're all about. So you can see here on the left, we have the Open Doors logo, and Open Doors is supporting people in general on their journey to work, further education, to business, and then also supporting employers to be more inclusive. Below the Open Doors, I suppose, making up this part of the organization is our supporting partners and our member companies. So our supporting partners are other organizations that have a shared interest in our work. So this may be organizations that support people, work directly with people in employment. It may be organizations that work with people in specific groups, disability, LGBTQI+, traveller groups, migrant refugee groups, etc. And they all feed in and link in with our work. And then our member companies, the companies who help to establish Open Doors, who fund Open Doors, and who help us to deliver a lot of the supports that we provide. And some of these companies would include mostly across from the private sector, but also public sector as well, and would include companies like Bank of America, Ernst & Young, LinkedIn, Diageo, publicjobs.ie, and Compass, large catering and services company. So a wide range of companies are involved with us. Also, Technical University Dublin is also a member company. So on your right, then you'll see three logos. The first one, all three represent programs that currently run under Open Doors, which are designed to work specifically with some of our target groups. So Towards Work, which I oversee, supports people with disabilities to access work and employment opportunities. Employers for Change supports employers who want to be inclusive of people with disabilities in their hiring practices. And Pathways to Progress works to support migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers to access work and employment opportunities. Now, we do work across projects together, so we as a lot of our work does has similar aspects, but the important, I suppose, part of having different programs is that we can tailor these to meet the specific needs and requirements of the different groups that we work with. And we hope down the road to be developing new programs that will work with other marginalized groups, such as people with a criminal background or history. So who we work with, I've touched on this already. So participants can be individuals who fall into one of the categories of marginalized groups that we support. It may also be a service provider who works with that group and would like to develop maybe a specific bespoke support to help the groups and the people that they work with into employment. Our members, made up of employers, of recruiters, and other companies who want to be more inclusive in their practices or want to contribute to the work that we do. Our partners are NGOs, charities, agencies. So this would include organizations such as Chime, work with people who are deaf of heart or hard of hearing. Irish Wheelchair Association, I think, have linked in with us in the past, although not currently an active partner. And different organizations from right across the NGO sector. Our stakeholders then, government departments, policy groups, statutory bodies. So these, we would have relationships with people in relation to funding of our organization, but then also to be able to contribute to policy across different government departments in terms of supporting people with disabilities in general, in terms of supporting migrants, refugees in general, but then also in terms of providing education work and employment supports. So we would be contributing to a number of different policy groups, steering committees, advisory groups, focus groups, consultation processes, in order to be able to contribute our own experiences, but then also the experiences and advice of our members and our participants and the people that we work with. So specifically in terms of towards work and what I do, working with people with disabilities who are looking to improve their employment prospects, who are looking to start work for the first time, who are looking to make a change in their career or their professional journey. These are some of the key things that we do. First thing is individual support and advice, which you can do through one-to-one meetings to identify what the needs or what the goals of a person is, and then to be able to direct them towards the different supports or opportunities that may be of help to them. We organize one-off skills and information sessions or series that may focus on a different area that is relevant specifically to people with disabilities in looking for employment. So this may be CV skills, this may be interview skills, this may be something a little more tailored, maybe information around how to get assistive technology in the workplace, or maybe an information session in relation to what grants or public services supports are available also for people in employment, transitioning into or out of employment at times. We run a mentoring program where individuals are paired up with professional experts from different companies and different members of Open Doors, and over a 3 to 6 month period then are able to give professional advice and guidance on a one-to-one basis to help people achieve their employment goals. We have a new program running in 2024 called the Job Ready program, which is a combination really of the skills and information sessions, as well as the mentoring program and peer supports, which will be a programmatic delivery over 10 weeks of key supports and information and skills sessions for people who are looking for new job opportunities and looking to improve their work readiness. More examples of what we do a lot, as our online hub at towardswork.ie. So this is our website, specific website for Towards Work, which will have all our latest news and events updates. We'll have links to programs within both Towards Work and Open Doors, including the mentorship and job ready programs. And then also we'll provide online resources and support and tools for people who are looking to improve their job skills. So when we run our information sessions, our skills sessions around CVs, around assistive technologies, around interviews, these sessions are often recorded, they're edited, and they're put up online to be able to be watched or followed up at different times. And then for these sessions, we'll often develop resources or documents that can be useful or helpful as well. And we add these on available to be downloaded and to be accessed at any stage as well. So all of that is available to our online hub at towardswork.ie. We then have a jobs board, again accessible through Towards Work and Open Doors websites. So this jobs board is a location where our member companies who are looking to create a more diverse workforce, who are looking to have more diverse hiring practices, notify us and inform us of what jobs they're currently recruiting for, and jobs that maybe they specifically want to push with the participants of Open Doors, to give them more opportunities to get jobs. We don't guarantee that somebody connected through Open Doors will get the jobs. We don't have a fast track process in that gives people any sort of advantage over other candidates who apply for the jobs. What we look to do is we look to put people in as best position as possible to succeed on their own merits. So to give people the skills to be as successful as they can professionally, to give them supports and resources to navigate perhaps some of the additional challenges or barriers that they may face, and then also to support the employers to help navigate those challenges and barriers as well. And in doing that, we hope that we, first of all, as best we can, remove these barriers, give our participants, the people we support, more confidence when it comes to looking for work and applying for jobs and doing job interviews, and then also giving the employers more confidence when it comes to hiring people with disabilities or perhaps from other backgrounds who may face additional challenges, and empower them to create that more inclusive workforce. So that jobs board is available again through our websites, where we highlight the specific roles that may be advertised, but then also there's a page which lists out all of the Open Doors members in different companies, and you can access each individual company website through that page, where of course there will be career pages and job vacancies that anyone can apply for there as well. And what we do recommend is that when people do apply for these opportunities, that they reference the Open Doors and towards work. And we hope that, as I say, not necessarily won't guarantee that somebody will get an invitation to interview or guarantee them a job, but we do hope that it will just give it an indication to the employer, to the recruiter, that the people who are applying, or that you who have applied, may have some additional challenges and may require some additional supports, but that's something then that they've already been empowered and something they've already been supported to accommodate and to support. So I guess, as mentioned already, hopefully that gives everybody more confidence and more confidence in the process, and makes it reduces any challenges or barriers they might face. What we also are looking to build this year is peer networking. So to create opportunities for individuals who have that lived experience of job seeking to come together and to share their experiences, the good and the bad, and to be able to offer that through their experiences, be able to give advice to others who may be experiencing the same challenges or may be looking to pursue similar opportunities or on the same journey as maybe somebody else is or was once upon a time, and that they can that basically the knowledge that we have as individuals of our own lived experience is an incredibly valuable resource, and it's something that we want to make sure is shared and is accessible to as many people as possible. And then lastly, another thing we do is build partnerships. So building partnerships with our members, with member companies, with other organizations, being able to spread the word about the work that we do, like we are here today talking to you, and to be able to, hopefully off the back of events like these, to be able to strengthen relationships, connections, partnerships with other organizations, so that we are able to maximize the number of people that we connect with, that we support, and that I suppose we reduce as best as possible the incidences of marginalization, of discrimination, of bias that maybe people of all different walks of life will experience when looking for opportunities in work and employment. And that's something we can only achieve through working together and, say, building partnerships and sharing experience and knowledge. So that's a really important part of what we're going to do and what we do. And thank you again for the opportunity to do that today. So a little more specifically then around what we'll be planning and I'm hoping to do this year in 2024, did I say? Yes, I wrote 2024, not 2023. That's good. First thing, LinkedIn webinar series. So LinkedIn, as you know, are sort of the online, almost like social media employment hub. It's where it's at for people who want to connect professionally and to share knowledge, information, updates on professional journeys, goals, experiences. So we're beginning to work very closely with LinkedIn, who are very keen to support the work that Open Doors do. And over the year, we're going to be delivering a number of webinars and other events with their support, getting their expertise of their staff, of their tools, of their products. So it's something that we're really looking forward to delivering and hoping that as many people as possible join us on that. And many of these events, they're open to anybody who wants to join. So there isn't a registration, there isn't a sign up for Open Doors or Towards Work specifically. These events are open, they're available to anybody who wants to join them. So we encourage anybody who may think they might be of use or may know somebody who might benefit from these to please spread the word and engage with the different events that we'll have on this year. Something we're running for the 4th consecutive year is an entrepreneurship program with Technical University Dublin. So this is a program, a 12-week program that runs in September of every year, and it is specifically designed to support people with disabilities to explore entrepreneurship and self-employment, to develop their own ideas, new ideas for businesses that they might like to run themselves, and to learn kind of the basic skills and the basic steps to setting up and running your own business. Over the year, we will also develop career path and work placement opportunities. So with a career path event, similar to what we're doing here today, inviting in different companies to basically explain sort of the internal workings of their recruitment processes, to share how their organization is run, what it's like for an employee to work for that company, what roles and responsibilities might be involved in different in different jobs, and to, I suppose, highlight as well then the work that they do in supporting employees with disabilities, the work they're doing in diversity and inclusion, and to basically make that sort of immediate connection between our participants and our members, so everyone can get more of an understanding of what, in terms of the members, the companies, what they're looking for in their in their employees, and for the companies to get a better understanding of what challenges or what supports are needed from are required for our participants. Building on from that, then we also are encouraging our member companies to provide work placement opportunities, and we hope to deliver at least 3 of these during the year. And these will be paid placements, paid internships for people to be able to get valuable work experience, and occasionally it'll also lead into new employment opportunities and full-time work. This year, we're hoping to develop a Towards Work community database, which is going to be an online resource which will identify basically lists and information around what employment support organizations are available in each county, in each region in Ireland. So at the moment, you might contact Open Doors Towards Work or a national organization, and we can direct you to different organizations or you can Google, work opportunities or disability work supports in Dublin, Cork, Galway, Roscommon, but it mightn't always give you the information that you want. So we're going to conduct a piece of research and a project to be able to bring as much of this information together as possible to provide for people. And then lastly, our skills and information sessions, which we will hopefully again deliver over the course of the year, covering things like CV skills, like information assistive technology, like pathways into employment pathways into the public sector, into certain areas of the private sector, information then around what supports and what initiatives are run by government at different departments to support people into employment as well, and how you can access them. So really important sessions as well that will be running throughout the year. So I know I've said a lot about the different programs, about what we've done, what we're doing, what we hope to do in the future. Added into that, we're, in terms of our one-to-one supports, we do look to provide as bespoke and specific supports as possible to people where we can. So if there are other things that people are looking for in terms of supports or opportunities that maybe I haven't touched on today, that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have the resources or the knowledge to be able to help and support it with that. So my contact details are on the screen here. My name, Patrick Flanagan, Program Coordinator. My email is patrick@opendoorsinitiative.ie, or you can also reach me through info@towardswork.ie. My phone number, 085 143 3519. So that's my work number. And then our two websites, www.opendoorsinitiative.ie or towardswork.ie. And as mentioned as well, a lot of information and resources immediately available on those websites too. So please do give them a look, share them with those you know, and hopefully they'll be of use to you or to anyone you know who's currently looking for that help and support in their employment journey. So I'll think that's it for me. Thank you, and I've said a good bit there. Waffled on a bit, but thanks a million, everybody. And I don't know if we have time for the questions, but do if there is, happy to answer whatever you might have.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Really interesting to hear about all the work of the project. And MDI would be very happy to promote your activities as well. And just to flag to everybody as well that we do have this section on our website called the Knowledge Base, in which, along with the case studies we've launched today, there are also frequently asked questions on other areas of information in relation to day-to-day living, including employment. So, and we can be adding to that as we go. So just to let people know about that. In terms of questions, are there any questions that people would like to? I have a couple, but are there any questions people would like to ask Patrick? Okay, so I have a question. One is, what do you think is the key issue or barrier that people encounter, people with disabilities encounter? I know that's a very broad question.
It is. There's two. Well, there's one and there's two. There's two and it's two and one. The word, I'm going to say one word is confidence.
Yeah.
And confidence, it's something that people, not just with disabilities have, but others, in terms of having the confidence of their own abilities, that you can apply for a job that you want, even if you don't think you're going to get it, and that you might have the skills, you might have the personality, you might have something that somebody's looking for that will get you that interview, will get you that opportunity, and the confidence in perhaps the skills that people have that we've developed as a result of having a disability. So say somebody with disability, you find a lot of people will share unique strengths they have in terms of problem solving, in terms of being adaptable, in terms of being patient and calm when things don't go their way, because things don't always go right. These can be really important characteristics and qualities that employers look for. And so it's understanding that we have those, and then also that confidence, just that, as I mentioned, your skills, and this is the same for anybody, your professional skills, your education, your experience might not directly align with what you see or what you think a job is about, but just to have that confidence in yourself that if you have that interest and you want to do that job and you think you can do that job, that you put your name forward, and that, regardless, you get that experience. And just the flip side of that then, in terms of confidence, it's employer confidence. So it's an employer or a recruiter hearing, I have a disability, I'm a wheelchair user, I'm visually impaired, I need these extra supports, is your interview room wheelchair accessible? Do you have a bathroom? I'm going to need some of this equipment provided, or my office is going to need to be designed a certain way in order to be able to access it. And employers' confidence to be able to go, yeah, that's fine. Because I think a lot of, as anybody does, if something you don't understand or something you don't have confidence to do, we'll often just not do it, or not look to get to sort of go near it. So employers do that, and it's not it is discriminative, it is biased, but it doesn't necessarily come from a view that people with disabilities or the person looking for a job isn't able to do the job. It's more me as the employer, we as the organization, we're not able to properly support and accommodate them. And there's ways that we as individuals can help that by providing solutions to the challenges, the barriers that we may have. So we can say, okay, look, I need X, Y, Z, but this is how I can get it. Or else through, say, the training and supports that Open Doors provide to try and improve that confidence of employers as well.
Great, Patrick. Thank you very much. That's very interesting to hear you expand on that. And also, I think the scope of the peer networking that you mentioned would be something of interest to our members as well. The idea that people can share, it's again people living with a disability who are sharing how sharing with others. So it's mutually empowering. So that sounds fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm mindful of time again, and I think we should move on to our final speaker. I'm looking for her name here. Is Julie? There's Julie. Julie, thank you for waiting. I'm sorry we're running a little bit late. So we'd like to welcome Julie Davis, who is the Administrative Officer with the Local Authority section of the Housing Agency. Thank you very much, Julie.
Thanks very much, Maeve. And listen, I just want to take an opportunity to thank you for the invitation today. It really is great to be able to speak to you and, highlight kind of the work of the National Housing Strategy for Disabled People. I might pop straight into the presentation. Can you hear my audio all right? It's not echoey or anything? Perfect, excellent. So just bear with me while I share this. It always takes me a little bit. There we go. Now, if you can let me know when you can see that. Sorry, Maeve.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. So the National Housing Strategy for Disabled People was launched in 2022, and it's for a 5-year period up until 2027. So, and there's been an implementation plan launched to accompany the strategy back in June 2023. There was a bit of a delay in that, but that was just finalising the actions. There was a lot of, consultation and, in with stakeholders around their actions to make sure that they were, achievable and realistic for the plan. So the strategy sets out the future plan for housing for disabled people over the next 5 years, and it aims to build upon the work achieved through the previous strategy. So there was one in place, and really that strategy started from a very low base in terms of, looking at disability and housing within the system. So there's been a lot of progress and foundations laid by that previous strategy that this plan is and the implementation plan is built on. And also to let you know that, as I mentioned there was an extensive consultation process undertaken by the Housing Agency as part of the strategy. and also as part of the development of the implementation plan. And it was looking at, and I'll just give you a quick sense of it, there was 2 rounds of consultation, and this kind of happened with the strategy itself and also with the plan. So we did go out for a public survey on, I suppose, what are the, what is important, what are the most important issues for people, who are looking to access housing and supports. So we did get 1,608 responses, and we did go out in various formats, accessible formats, like easy to read. We had an English version, an Irish version. We also had an explainer video of the public survey. So we tried to make it as an inclusive a possible process as possible. We got 22 submissions separately from disability organisations. And we also got submissions from the Housing and Disability Steering Groups on their local plans. And I'll talk a little bit more about those Housing and Disability Steering Groups in a little while. And also we looked at, I suppose we used our own internal research facilities to look at how the HGSGs are working, those housing and disability steering groups, and they informed actions on the strategy, in particularly around collaboration and interagency collaboration, because those steering groups bring together multiple stakeholders to work together, I suppose, to look and develop, make progress in local areas. The second round of consultation got into more depth, I suppose, about what the themes that kind of emerged from the initial survey and the initial discussions. And so we had 2 focus group sessions with local authorities, HSE Disability Services, HSE Mental Health Services, the Irish Council for Social Housing and approved housing bodies, and the local government management agency. So that was kind of on the I suppose the state services side of things. But we really wanted to get lived experience views with regards to the strategy, because to be honest, that's where the real knowledge base is held. It's about the person's experience when they're trying to access housing or to live in housing. So we got those views through, I suppose, 3 focus group sessions. They were kind of facilitated by the Disability Participation and Consultation Network, the DPCN, and also the National Federation of Voluntary Service Providers. And arising out of that, this is what the strategy looks like. And some of you may be already familiar with this, but the vision of the strategy is to facilitate disabled people to live independently with appropriate choices and control over where, how, and with whom they live, promoting their inclusion in the community, and to further enable equal access for disabled people with housing to housing with integrated support services. And I referred there to themes emerging through the consultation, and those themes they solidified themselves into kind of six sections. And the first one there is around accessible housing in communities, and that's where the main actions of the implementation plan are. There's a lot of actions under that theme. The second theme is interagency collaboration and the provision of supports. So that's how, I suppose, housing, bodies and, and state agencies and, disability organizations and people with lived experience all kind of, how they can collaborate and improve that in collaboration, in and around the provision of supports. And the third theme there is affordability of housing. The fourth theme is communication and access to information. The fifth theme is knowledge, capacity, and expertise. And the last theme there is strategic alignment or strategy alignment. So there's a lot of different policies, there's a lot of different strategies out there, but it's just making sure, it was really important for us to make sure that this strategy spoke to those, and aligned itself with those as well. The implementation plan there, just to give you a sense of the scope of it, under the 6 themes, there were 27 outcomes. And, again, there's 107 actions, so you can see how broad this plan is. And 25 of those actions, as I said, the theme 1 is kind of where the most heavy. Theme 1 and theme 2 really are where most of the heavy actions are. So it's good to just give you just a flavour of what it looks like. I want to talk about what is underpinning it, because often sometimes you're wondering with strategies, well, how is it going to be delivered? And just to let you know that there is a National Implementation Steering Group. So that is it's made up of government departments, it's made up of disability persons organisations, it's made up of disability organisations and also other stakeholders that would be involved or, in delivering housing for disabled people. So it's the job of that implementation group is to oversee the implementation at a national level, and also to convene thematic groups to examine specific areas of work. So let's say if there's an issue arising with one of the actions, or if there's something that the group wants to look more closely at, they do have the ability to convene a group that to look at that. And that group will be, it wouldn't necessarily be just from the implementation steering group members. That would be going outside for assessments, maybe from people with lived experience, academics, that depending on the issue. The housing and disability steering groups under the last strategy, they were established, and there's 30 of them around the country. The reason why there's 31 local authorities in Ireland, but Cork County and Cork City, they combine their housing and disability steering groups, so that's why there's 30. And really they are really key to the implementation of this plan. And there are actions for the housing and disability steering groups in it, and also they are chaired by the local authority, so the local authority are heavily involved in those. One of our priorities is to increase lived experience, as on the membership of the HGSGs, and certainly, we have a list of housing coordinators around the country if somebody is interested in finding out a bit more about the housing and disability steering groups and whether it's something you'd like to potentially participate in as well. The housing and disability steering groups, they can escalate issues up to the national group. So we have put in a procedure where, if there's issues that can't be solved at a local level, and if they feel it needs a national look at, they can escalate them up. And there is a feedback mechanism put in place to make sure that we update those groups on the advice of the National Implementation Steering Group. And there's also regional interagency groups. Now, these have just been recently enough set up, and these are to drive improvements between the local authorities and the HSE. And maybe often some of your members, and you might be experiencing this, where the process of getting maybe a package of care supports from the HSE is a different process to getting an offer of social housing, or getting a housing grant. And often they're not really aligned, the priorities and aligned. So these regional agency groups is to try get those processes to match up. So if there are cases or problems in their area in terms of housing and support packages not aligning, this is where we believe that these groups can be very instrumental, and they're based on the 9 CHO areas. So they're based on the HSE areas, and they involve representatives from the local authority, from HSE mental health and HSE disability. So it's across all the kind of the relevant areas there. Just to give you a sample of housing agency current activity, we've published an information and communication strategy there in November 2023. So really this is a document that we hope that people will find useful, and it does have really useful links out to other resources regarding accessible information and communication, and that's what it's all about. It's about providing a bit of guidance around how to make the local authorities in particular and also other agencies can make the information they make available to the public in a more accessible format, and also in and around that consultation, how to include people with lived experience, in consultation or in meetings, formal groups like the HGSGs, the Housing and Disability Steering Groups. So there's a lot of good practical advice in there, but there's also actions contained. So we are and we have a few organizations signed up, committing to signing up to the actions to make their organizations, take them further along that journey of making their information and communication more accessible to the public. The second point there is the Housing and Disability website. One thing that came back to consultation on the strategy and the implementation plan was there's a lot of information out there, but it's kind of scattered across, I suppose, the internet, different websites, and it's really, really valuable. So what we wanted to do is, create kind of a central resource, and it will point out to other websites and useful websites. And I took a look at Muscular Dystrophy's website, Ireland's website there, and there's some really great information on it. So we are looking to link out to kind of, partner websites, who'd be happy for us to kind of link to them. So really what we wanted to do is pull together, I suppose, information on housing, but also on the support side of things as well. So it's just to bring things into a kind of essential place, and that we can link out to other resources as well if needed. The third point there is around an awareness campaign. Again, out of the consultation, something that came up is, awareness is not just, a 2-week campaign sometime at one point in a year. It really needs awareness raising activities need to happen throughout the I suppose the lifetime of the strategy, and that's one thing that the housing agency are committed to, and it's an action in the strategy itself. So it is, last year we kind of spent time raising awareness of the strategy and the implementation plan itself, but this year I think we're going to run a big one in around Q2 in around steps to independent living, looking at kind of what needs to be in place, or what awareness raising do we need to put in place in terms of planning for that, for accommodation early, and trying to plan for those supports as well. The fourth point here is embedding those regional interagency groups. So I spoke about them already. So they are only new and they're just building those relationships. Now, there's already relationships built between local authorities and HSEs, but they might be, in a specific area. It's not as broad across the HSE and across all local authorities. So what we really want to do is make sure those relationships are in place across the country. The fifth, the one there is review of the assessment and allocation guidance for local authorities. So this is an important one, I suppose, and it will be relevant for some of your members of, it's looking at the guidance for local authorities on how they assess and allocate housing to people with disabled people. So it's really looking at kind of that process. That can be very difficult for some people for people to navigate, and giving some updated guidance to local authorities on that. We will be going out to consultation pretty soon, I'd say in February, and we will be throwing it open very wide, including to people with lived experience, and there might be some people here on the call that would like to feed into that too. And the last bullet point there is on the mental health tenancy sustainment service. So this is a service that was originally designed to support people who are moving out of long-term mental health hostels and into the community. So the initial scheme was aimed at that, but it made some great achievements there through that scheme. So the scheme now has been, has been made larger and I suppose broader. So now it's looking at anybody who would have a mental health basis of need who's on a housing list, and then they'll be given the option, if they so wish to, to engage with a tenancy, to get support from a tenancy sustainment officer. And again, it's completely voluntary on the tenant. It's not linked to the housing offer whatsoever, but it's just something that is there as an extra support for people if they want that kind of, I suppose, a bit of help in and around the move-in process, or maybe they're having some issues in an existing tenancy that they want a bit of support on. So that's just kind of a sample of the current work of the housing agency. I've kind of done a little bit of a whistle-top tour there, so I hope everybody was able to follow me there. But I'm willing to happy to take any questions now if you have any.
Julie, thank you very much. Very interesting to hear all the background to that process, etc. And I hope that's of interest to people. As we know, we're living in a country where there is a housing crisis. You're very, I'm sure, very aware of that. And then on top of that, we also know that a key barrier for people living with disabilities is the lack of accessible housing. Mm-hmm. Could you talk to us a little bit about how that might be being addressed within the strategy?
Again, it's part of this. What's important, and is brought up in the strategy, is in terms of the importance of universally designed units, and and that discussion in and around what is wheelchair livable. What is how far does that universal design need to go?
Yeah.
Now, at the moment, it also is kind of it's not dealt completely within just this strategy. It's also part of Housing for All. So there's a over 5 years since Housing for All was launched, there was over 20 billion, they're invested into into housing, up to 30,000 housing units a year. So there is a massive kind of investment program going into housing. But you're right there. The key is, making it available that it's suitable for disabled people and their needs. Now we're making some way in terms of the social housing. There is, definitely, with the occupational therapists and the HDM1 form process, the application form where you can record you have a specific housing requirement. We're making some, there's a facility under that to record that you need specific housing. But more broadly, it really is looking at the more the housing supply and looking at those planning guidelines. Part M is limited and that's the current kind of guideline for housing. It is limited, and it is something that is being looked at the moment, and hopefully, it'll be dealt with in terms of the universal design. But it's certainly something, universal design is something that's very important to the national strategy. And we'd also be working very closely with local authorities in and around, I suppose, supporting, or the department are, in terms of supporting kind of applications for capital assistance scheme, which is a particular program, for approved housing bodies to build adapted housing, not just adapted housing, but, they would have a category of need there in terms of disability or disabled people housing as well. So there is a lot of work being done, but more needs to be done.
Thank you very much, Julie. And the other thing is, another question here is in relation to the awareness campaign. Who is the awareness campaign directed at in relation to steps for independent living? Like, if you would mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that's something that we're currently looking at the moment.
Yeah.
We want to target it at certain demographics, okay? And one demographic that we're particularly interested in would be maybe, adult children living at home with elderly carers, to them, to the carers, and also to the adult children themselves. About sometimes there's maybe a little lack of awareness about what housing options are out there, or the process for housing options, and it's a confusing process. And there is demystifying about how you apply for housing. And yes, there is waiting lists for housing, but one of the most important messages is, for people who, social housing, they want to avail of it, is really getting on the housing list as soon as possible. That's really important. And also kind of, it will let the local authority plan for the need that's coming up. So they know more about what need is coming forward. You know what I mean? They're able to work those into their property planning.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. And we will be happy to share also, we'll look to sharing more resources on our website that relates to all of the talks. And also if we can also share your PowerPoint presentation, it may be helpful to participants as well, just to go back over it all and see where there are bits that are most relevant to their interest. So, Julie, thank you very much. Is there anybody else who has a question? There's one message. I just see one message coming up here. Just bear with me. Owen, would you like to ask this yourself, or would you like me to read it out?
No, yeah. Sorry, just thought I'd throw it in there. Hi, Matt. Hi,
Thank
everybody.
you. Hi, Owen.
This is just something in particular as a single male who think it's very hard to get housing. I was told that I need to get an affidavit signed by my parents to say they didn't want me living on the property.
Yeah, from the local authority, was it?
Yep. So no parent in Ireland is going to sign that. So I'm in my own situation. I can't get out of here because of the guidelines in place.
Okay. Owen, would you? I'm not too sure if you'd be interested or not, but we deal with a lot of queries from the public and a lot of applicants who are disabled people, and they're looking in terms of what advice they can do in around social housing and accessing social housing. So I can share we have an email address. It's disabilityservices@housingagency.ie. That's disabilityservices@housingagency.ie, and I'll stick it in the chat here after the talk here. But we'd be certainly happy to maybe discuss that. If you have a particular query, we'll definitely get in touch and talk to you about that.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Thanks very much for that. Yeah.
Thank you, Owen.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Would you mind putting yourself back on mute again, please? You're done. Thank you. Would anybody else have a question for Julie? It doesn't look like we do. So, Julie, thank you so much for that very informative presentation. That hopefully, do I hear Tanya there?
Yes, sorry. There's just another message in the chat there.
Thank you. So, thank you very much. Just bear with me. There is another one coming through from a member, which is a question.
That was me.
Karen, would you like to speak to it? Great. Hi, Karen. How are you?
I don't know if this is relevant for yourself, Julian, but I'm just wondering, is there any help at all for people that are adapting their homes or getting new homes like that? We would have 2 young children who will be wheelchair users full time. And I'm just wondering if there's any supports. I know, like, we because we previously owned our own house, you know, we were told we'd be 9 years on a waiting list looking for any sort of aid, and we'd have to probably leave our jobs to get any support in that sense, which is not something we're interested to do. And so at the moment we're selling our own house, and we're looking to purchase a bungalow, but we're just wondering, is there any supports to help us adapt that?
There are actually grants for private housing, adapting private housing. Again, they're administered to the local authorities, and you know, generally the best, you know, good time to apply is kind of near the start of the year, because they do have a funding program for each year. But it's,
I think they're all means tested grants as well, though, are they?
They can, yeah, they can be means tested. So maybe perhaps, Karen, maybe if you might, you know, if you maybe email us ourselves, and we might talk about, we probably need more information about your circumstances as such, you know, but definitely there are some grants available, but it does depend on your means.
That'd be great. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Karen.
Maeve, you just muted yourself there while you were talking, but there is another
sorry, thank
chat.
you. I just said thank you very much there, Karen and Julie. And we have another question. Catherine, would you like to ask it yourself, or would you like me to call it out? Maybe I will. So the question is, oh, call it out, please. Perfect, Catherine. So there is also another question related. Is there any help available for adapting a rented property with the landlord approval?
Yeah, again, under that grant scheme with the local authority, you can adapt private rented if the landlord is willing to do it, or is willing to make those changes. That's
good to know. Good to know. Thank you very much. So I'm aware it's gone 1:15. Thank you, Julie, for hanging in there for the last presentation. Thank you all the participants for your engagement with today, and we really hope it is helpful. And please do let us know through our very short feedback survey, so we can find out what was of interest to you, how we can improve things. Where's my little list here? Okay, so thank you, everybody. I did say. And again, to remind you that our case studies document is up online now in the knowledge base section of our website, and there's also a link in the chats. And there are also, as I said, frequently asked questions and other sections that may be of interest to you. I think that's everything. Do remember that support is there with MDI. If anything has come up for you from today, that we are here, and please do contact us through our information line or through the form on the website, and we will put a human being in contact with you following that. So thank you so much. And it's lovely feedback coming in there as well from people. Thank you very much. And I would like also, on behalf of us, work team, to pay particular credit to Tanya Quill, who put together our case studies document and organized this event. So, so a big applause for Tanya and all her fabulous work. So that's everything. We will say goodbye now, and thank you all. And as I said, we will follow up if there are any questions coming out of this as well. Thank you very much, and take care, everybody. Cheerio.